Since the pandemic, difficulty affording food has been particularly increasing. Food insecurity is still one of the major issues in St. James Town, especially after the economic drop that affected many people due to COVID-19 lockdown. Although food banks work really hard to fight hunger, they also face a number of challenges. Running out of funding is always an obstacle that could hit many organizations. Cope Community Center in St. James Town has been recently struggling with running out of funding. However, they are working on finding alternatives to keep their program.
They have got the funding from Red Cross, I think, for the pandemic period. I think it must have come from the Toronto Foundation or some other funding from the federal government funding. So it has a deadline actually. So March 31st is the funding there to be spent actually. So I think that's what they're saying. How do we make sure that those needs are met is one thing. But another part is actually, but then if we do that needs met, what is actually next? So what, right? That's a question we should ask.
Volunteers and their stability and ability to keep working and offering their help on the long run. Many other obstacles related to the space that they can work in, places for storage, materials, tools, and more. Today, we will see 3 initiatives that work in solving funding issues in different ways: the Corner, Lady Lords, and Progress Place. The Corner has been working on creating a model that would be able to be self-sufficient and independent in the near future.
Basically sell the food to our partners actually, and we were trying to create a small income generation project actually for the women to participate, so they actually have employment and income process out of that, but also our partners actually get a healthy and nutritious meals. Siobhan Health actually is the advisor for the nutrition and all those things to you.
So like when we have started this, we started in a very small scale, and the vision was very clear, just to engage the community people and give something to them, so just to engage them. But we started very small scale, but we didn't know that in these 2 years it could grow in that much, that much big, and then the demand of this group would increase.
Since the pandemic actually, that we have had community members come and seek some food security support, and in those days actually we didn't have the food hub, the food bank that existed actually here in 270 Bleecker was closed actually due to the pandemic restrictions. And so TNO that time actually was able to connect with another partner and bring some food boxes to the community. And that's how we started actually. And then when we started that, actually the Lady of Lords who runs the food bank actually reached out to us and said, how we can collaborate together. So then what we did was actually, while we were delivering the foods that TNO was providing for us, we actually worked with them to develop a space actually at the corner, where that actually food boxes delivered at the same time, bringing actually the Lady of Lords food bank here. Then we realized actually it might be better for us to actually have another space, which is the new common space actually, and 225 Wellesley, and we had that food bank actually there. And then we delivered the food boxes here and then actually gave it to the residents. So we actually coordinated both of them together, as in one single intake process and all those things. So the corner was coordinating with that food bank at that site, but we worked together, 4 agencies, Siobhan Health, TNO, Corner, Lady of Lords, and Newcomer.
Volunteers play a great role in this program. They come for many reasons, like learning new skills or gaining experience, but all of them have the motivation to give to the community and the understanding of supporting each other.
Flavors from Our Neighbors is the St. Jamestown Catering Collective. It has a beautiful name, and it was the women that chose it. There is a dietitian at Sherborne who a few years ago started a program for newcomer women at Sherborne Health, and so there was a lot of women from St. Jamestown that came together for cooking classes and social connections. And what we discovered was that the cuisines from the different parts of the world were amazing, and people really enjoyed coming together. And so we started thinking about it as an opportunity, right, to be able to bring these women together meaningfully in a way that makes them stay connected, as well as it is a social enterprise opportunity. So that was how the Catering Collective, or the thought about it, began.
We started with a 10 women group who were part of this community, and as you know, like, this community is a very diverse community, and we have a lot of people like immigrants, refugees from different countries, different circumstances they are here, different situation they have personally, and especially with women, it's really difficult, and sometimes it's become isolated for them to come in this new country and face the challenges what they're facing. So we have noticed that there are a lot of women who have a lot of skills, but there's not a single platform to utilize those skills and to use them in their we can say their income generation way, or in their favor. So we started this with 10 women, and we didn't know that we might have more demand for this.
I started volunteering in April, and for me it was a big opportunity because I was so scared with my English, and it was an opportunity to develop my English, to be confident. At the same time, my passion is cooking, and I'm a professional chef, and I used to cook back home for 8 years, and for me it was like an amazing opportunity to be part of the Catering Collective. And I started volunteering, carry on the food and the food bank, and doing a lot of things with them.
I work for the Catering Collective right now, like volunteering and cooking with love for the seniors and through this pandemic. So that's my role here. We're always trying to put everything together and take it for them in these difficult times where they cannot come to the community corner sometimes to pick it up, so we sometimes take it there. So I did that role too, to just go and deliver it, or here right now I'm just sometimes cooking for them with the team.
The Catering Collective started around 3 years ago, and slowly the community and the women took over the Catering Collective. So initially, the corner and Sherborne was supporting the Catering Collective, and then the women started taking more and more leadership, and it became its own entity, Flavors from Our Neighbors. And we still support it, in the back end. The corner and Sherborne Health and our dietitian continue to support it, but all of the decisions are made by the women, and it became something of a social enterprise. But as this was happening, the pandemic struck too, and it was beautiful that the women came together to talk to us about how they could support the community during the pandemic. So to be honest, just in terms of the social enterprise and the business, that took a little bit of a hit during the pandemic, but it did not matter to the women because they wanted to give back to the community. So the corner and other organizations like Hospice, Progress Place, Sherborne Health supported the women to be able to do that. In terms of offering some funding to be able to conduct this meal programs.
We have noticed that when we started with those women's, and we started training them, we started working with them and get them certified, and then we started with very small programs, meal programs, and small meeting buffets or meals. And we have noticed that people started loving the food, not only the food, but we were also working with the demand of the food and the healthy meal, because that is more important, we thought. So we are not working alone. We are working with our registered dietitian, which is Christina Tran, and she's working with Sherborne Health and the Corner both. And she always takes care that whatever we are making or whatever we are preparing, it should be incomes and balanced diet. It should not only the food we are serving, but it should also be fresh, be healthy, and it could, so the motive of our collective is to provide that we can provide a healthy meal in a tasty way.
And now cooking with them is amazing because I learned from different cultures like Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, and China. This is amazing for me. At the same time, when I saw senior outside in the line, it's for me it's a satisfaction, because I know that they arrive for a hot food, for a good qualification food, and it's a passion food for them. Oh, for me it was like a big opportunity, because all of this pandemic we not stop. We continue cooking for them every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and we provide almost 50 meals. And for us it's amazing because we stay with them. They are in like a distance, but at the same time with the old protocols, and we are serving the food with love, and we transmit the love in the food. And at the same time it's like amazing because that you are contribute with the community, and for they continue like a normal life in no matter the circumstances.
My purpose here in the earth to help others and to just do this kind of social work. So it's very nice for me to feel complete, like doing this kind of job, and yeah.
So as you see, the corner offers the space and all of the support that is needed for the women to cook here. The women come here, cook in a very safe environment, following all the different protocols, and they cook with so much of care. So it is not like, you just need to give some food if people are insecure, right? You have to give that food with love and warmth, and that's what the Flavors from Neighbors is all about. So they cook with their heart, and the residents who receive the meals totally love the meals that Flavors from our Neighbors caters to them. And I think we have been doing this, so the catering collective has been doing this since March. So since March now until Feb, and I think they are going to be continuing it, and we are very happy to be supporting them in this initiative.
We also started to provide actually the cooked meals program for people who are isolated, particularly who are marginalized and also live actually individually in townhouses or rooming houses or apartments. So we were doing two folds actually. One is actually giving a food hamper program, other one is a cooked meal program. And then obviously Progress Place also came into play, and they have their cooking meal program. They brought their food boxes too, so we were doing that. And then City of Toronto actually also found different donors who were actually giving cooked meals to them, and they were actually sharing those meals actually to us, Parkdale, different areas. So those meals also came here and also to Progress Place, and we shared them with the community. The pandemic also created two phases of it. One, it created actually isolating kind of a environment, but in another environment also created was people wanted to actually come out and actually seek and help actually, right? So in a way that the second part of it actually was something that we were able to galvanize and create an environment. The first one was actually that then how do we actually then make sure that those people feel isolated, connected, right?
This program has even succeeded to help securing another category of food need: people who have been tested positive with COVID-19 while they're home alone, isolated, and in need of food, or cannot cook or have access to food.
The challenge is actually delivering things actually to the residents actually in their homes. Actually, sometimes is struggle because volunteers actually sometimes they have their own life struggles and things like that. So that's one. But we have been reasonably actually blessed with actually people who are coming out to volunteer. Currently that we have the pandemic process, so people are giving there and here some resources. But how do you sustain this actually? Because you need to pay the women who are cooking and making these meals actually. actually. So that's a part, actually, that's a challenge. The second is the space itself, you know, like we have a small kitchen, Toronto Public Health certified kitchen, but at the same time, actually, it doesn't have enough space. That same room is actually testing center in particular days, and food actually another day, so it's a lot of coordination and clean up and changing around, so that's what the corner is. Actually, corner is actually a place is a bit chaotic, but at the same time, actually, it gets things done.
That's how the corner contributed working to fill the food gap issue in St. James Town. Moving towards Sherbourne Street, the volunteers at Lady of Lords Church have made a great effort. From a tiny room, they could make some difference in the neighborhood as well.
This is Catholic, it's non-denomination. Everyone is served. This service, I think, started in at Our Lady of Lourdes Church, and that was in early 90s. We've been in this building for almost 30 years with the help of the TCHC, because it's hard for us to be giving out food at the church. We don't have a basement, so it's been more people coming in, people more in need. So this is the place that we have been using for the past less than 30 years. We need to count all the amount of food that we're giving. So the more people we serve, the more amount of food that we're getting. The support and funds has been overwhelming from people, but then during this pandemic, it's the clients, it's been more people that is coming in, some people without work, some people who are really need 2 times a week, sometimes they're here. So that's the challenge, and we can't just say no to anyone who comes, and nobody is going out the door without any food. It's been overwhelming support from the community too, and also from the parishioners still, The only struggle that we have during the pandemic is the volunteers, because people I used to have volunteers here 15 years, they're still here, but because of pandemic, they're worried more of what it takes from the clients, and they go home and they get with COVID to take home. So that's what they struggle. So I don't have enough volunteers, but because of their generosity of their time, they're here 3 times a week, every day.
This is our second year. Basically what we're doing, we're sorting dairy and regular food in different bags. Then we have those little buggies that we use, depending as to how many people there are, children, and we get us extra. So basically, that's what we're doing. I love it. It's very rewarding. It's just beautiful. That's what you want to do. No one brings something good, and everyone here works together, and it's wonderful. As you're kind of worried, because you're exposed to the public too, in a way. But you just can't hide all the time. You do the very best you can with all the regulations.
And, we continue to do this service as long as the TCHC will, still be there supporting us.
It is very powerful to see people of the community and organizations working together in order to solve a problem or an aspect of insecurity. That's how Progress Place found a way to keep providing help and support to the community in St. James Town, despite the lockdown. A mental health community center focused on improving the lives of people. They refused to close their doors due to the lockdown and decided to secure one of the major issues that threatens mental health, which is food insecurity.
Progress Place is a community-based mental health and addiction organization. So we really brought forward, our expertise in mental health and addiction for the senior program, because that's where the need was. So when we went into lockdown back in March, Progress Place itself took an extra week before we closed our doors, because we really wanted to listen to what our members from Progress Place were envisioning the greatest needs would be for them. So we heard that food security was going to be one, that they were worried about, social connections, being able to stay well because of, the lack of, with isolation, they were so worried about, their symptoms of mental illness surfacing, such as depression, anxiety. So that's when we quickly pivoted and we started planning very, very quickly during that week to provide virtual programming. And then we decided we would try a meal program.
When COVID hit, we recognized that we had to pivot our programming. We started with the members of our clubhouse first by providing a virtual program as well as a meal program. We soon recognized that downtown East was in need of food security, and at that point we were able to open up our meal program to support more people in the community. So we started with approximately 100 meals. Now with the growth, we're about 300 meals per day.
Initially, the meal program was for people wanting to pick up, but then we soon realized that some of our members were saying, well, we want to come pick up, but it's very difficult for us to come on site because, they're telling us to stay inside and isolate. So we're worried about having to come pick up. So we decided that, to support some of their concerns, we really needed to start delivering. So that's what we started to do. And since we were delivering, it expanded our reach so quickly. And we thought, okay, we're not going to be able to manage this by ourselves. And if we're delivering to our members, it just makes sense to talk to our neighbors and local partners and find out if they want to collaborate with us and help do a similar thing, or maybe they might have a different way.
Even with us having to change our services and having to restructure how we work, we never once closed down. We never closed our doors and we never stopped offering our services. We had to change those services and what those services look like a little bit, including developing a food program to help feed the community.
Our goal is to offer food for as long as possible. Really, it's all about getting creative and looking for partnerships in the community, whether that be with local businesses or restaurants, and seeing how we can best support the community as a whole.
So we did contact the corner, and they thought it was a great idea, and they engaged the catering collective. They came up with this idea because, creating work for residents during a time when so many people were losing their jobs was very inspirational. And it was also solving another dilemma, which was food security. And we were able to establish a greater reach. And they also could help us with more cultural, responding to cultural needs, such as providing, I think they provide vegan, but also halal. So that was really helpful because we were doing vegetarian options and just kind of regular meals. It's hard to have so many selections because remember, we're not chefs, we're not cooks. Like, these are social work staff that, are cooking and trying their best to, provide food for people, right?
Prior to the pandemic, operating as we previously did, food was always an important part to us, but the members were more important. The members were the focus, and we were here to get them involved and to cook with them. Unfortunately, once we went into lockdown, the members weren't able to keep coming in, and so we extended our services out, and we were able to keep calling and keep making those phone calls and to keep in touch that way. However, we also opened up that food portion of it so we could keep cooking and we could keep providing those meals and keep offering the little bit of love that food is.
Try and be creative, obviously with a limited budget. We offer meat and vegetarian meals, so people are able to choose, which is great. We also try to keep a variety of food and to keep it spicy and exciting for people so that they want to eat their meals and it's something they're excited to receive and that they're going to enjoy.
There were some other local partners, like we have 519 right across the street, and we, reached out to them. They were handing food out every day to people that were homeless. And then they had some people too that weren't able to come in. So we started to, they referred people so that we could deliver to some of their clients. And there were other providers in the neighborhood that asked if we could deliver to some of their most vulnerable members. So that's how that started. And we quickly realized that when we were going, you start to form a better relationship, especially, our members we know, but for the members that we did not know so well, like if they were, 519 clients, or if they were the corner clients or whatever, we tried to make sure the same person would deliver, because we felt that the consistency of getting to know someone was really important, so that they could follow up with the person to make sure that they were okay, because people might not be wanting or feel comfortable to share if they're struggling. And we realized we all thought this was only going to be for maybe a few weeks, a couple, like 3 months most, right? But when we saw that this was going on and on and on, we realized we need to do better in terms of supporting. And I kind of made reference to it earlier, but that's when we realized when people weren't feeling well, we all of a sudden would say, okay, what are your symptoms? Okay, you know what? We really think that you should get checked out for COVID. We're going to make a test appointment with you. Or at the very early times, there was no appointments. You could just go. So we would get a taxi and pay for the taxi to go, and give them a taxi to come home. And, while they were waiting for results, we would bring, like I said, groceries, food, medication, whatever was needed. And the needs just became greater as the time extended, because people's mental health was suffering the longer it went on. And even when we reopened, we continued to do that program, because we kept hearing that many people were not comfortable coming out, because they kept saying that COVID is still very much alive, and people still have to be careful, and there was only very small numbers of people that you were allowed to gather with. And even though, in our building, if you were to see it, on each floor we could easily fit 10 people. So we had at the most 7 members who we call clients, and then staff to support people on site. And then we were still able to sustain the virtual programming and the meal delivery. So, and then the wellness check. So if someone needed an accompaniment to an appointment, like recently we've had someone that became very physically unwell, and they couldn't seem to get to the bottom. So there were so many appointments, like to the emerge, to the doctors. Well, then eventually they were diagnosed with shingles, and they were inside. That's why it was so hard to determine what it was. But that was really hard for them to figure out. And they were getting so frustrated that they couldn't figure out what was going on. And of course, he was someone that was coming for meals, but he didn't have the energy to come for meals. So we made sure that, we've been providing the meals when he couldn't come. And now he's been in hospital and he has a cat. So we're looking after the cat. Like, there's just so many different things that kind of snowball as a result of everything that's happening. It starts as a meal program, but then you're providing whatever support is really needed to help keep the person, as well as possible.
Community members are individuals who have their different circumstances and struggles. The key of success to our struggles is to find solutions that would meet the actual needs we have, the circumstances we're going through, and the tools we have at the current moment that could help us moving forward. But what are the strategies Progress Place has considered to deal with the different obstacles, especially funding?
We have worked so hard. We've never worked so hard to get funding. And the first, last year when this all started happening, we found that fortunately, we were successful at getting funding, and we've been able to manage running the program. The Downtown East Food Program was funded just at the beginning of this year, and we have funding to go until about the end of May, possibly early June. It depends on how quickly it expands and how many people and the hours that people are working. So after that, I don't know, like we don't have a lot of money yet either. We haven't received any additional grants. So we're just going to have to continue to apply and look for various things. With the Downtown East numbers, including the numbers that we had before, we could not, and even with social catering collective support, we could not sustain the numbers of meals on a daily basis. So we've engaged social enterprises in Regent Park, and we're asking for their assistance to provide meals, but we would pick them up and do the delivery so that we could continue to support people's mental health. And we have money to pay for now, so that it's supporting, local people that are trying to work and provide their services, but at a very grassroots level. There's so much happening. So our walk-in fridge and freezer is breaking down, so we have to have a new one. And we've even engaged some of our local restaurants. So while the work is going to be done, we understand it's going to be for a week, we cannot cook anything. And we thought, oh my God, what are we going to do? So then, because, so far we have money, we decided we have to ask restaurants, and our local restaurants have been very supportive and have not, we've been able to negotiate a good rate for hundreds of meals for that week. So we're always looking to also support the community business owners as much as possible, as well as more grassroots like social enterprises.
We're so grateful to be able to be working with people, and it's so nice. We get phone calls from people in the community just thanking us for the food we provide them and just being so grateful, and that's really helped us keep the momentum growing.
I'm so happy to work for a place like Progress Place that is trying to continue supporting people. Mental health is such a big, important piece of people's lives, and I think more people are realizing that. And I'm just really happy to work with an organization that is just trying to work on improving people's mental health, whether it's through outreach, phone calls, supporting people in their mental health journey, but also those other pieces that are involved, providing people with meals, providing people with access to the different resources that they need when things are closing down. Because there's mental health, but then there's all of the other things involved, housing, meals, finances, everything that people need to survive. So I'm really, really proud that we're not just working on to improve and help people's mental health, but everything else that impacts that as well.
It is very inspiring to see all of these examples and more working together on securing food for residents in St. Jamestown. Food insecurity is one of the major issues in St. Jamestown as well as around the world. In these examples, there are many efforts and smart solutions that are promising of a stronger community and a better future.
Please do not forget to like, comment, and share to our channel. Follow us on all our social media platforms, and for more information, please check out our website.